Hey, let me ask you something straight up. If you are a man over 50, have you ever found yourself wondering in private, is it still okay that I masturbate? Could I be hurting myself without even realizing it? If that question has ever crossed your mind, even for a second, you are not alone. In fact, I was in the same boat not too long ago. See, there is this weird silence around this topic. We hear everything about cholesterol, blood sugar, testosterone, levels, prostate health. But nobody talks openly about what happens when you are still engaging in solo pleasure after 60. I used to think it was just a harmless private act, something I did to relieve stress or pass the time. But over time, questions started creeping in. Is it helping? Or is it silently wearing me down? That is what made me dive deep into the research and start having some difficult, honest conversations with friends, doctors, even therapists. And what I discovered, it changed the way I think about my body, my energy, and what it really means to age with intention. So today I want to talk with you about both sides of the coin. Yes, there are some amazing health benefits that come with mindful self-pleasure even later in life. But there are also some very real risks, physical, emotional, even hormonal, if it is done unconsciously or compulsively. Let us start with the positives. Because the truth is, masturbation is not shameful. It is a tool, and used properly, it can support your health in surprising ways. Number one, it keeps blood flow alive where it counts. Most men do not realize that the penis is made of sponge-like tissue that depends on blood flow to stay elastic and strong. When you stop using it, whether due to age, stress, or fear, that tissue can stiffen, shrink, and lose responsiveness. Masturbation, when done periodically, acts like exercise for the system. It keeps circulation active in the erectile chambers, which helps maintain erectile function over time. You would not expect your legs to stay strong without movement, right? The same principle applies here. Number two, a prostate that gets flushed stays calmer. One of the most surprising things I learned. Ejaculation actually plays a role in prostate maintenance. There was a major study out of Harvard that tracked thousands of men over decades. It found that those who ejaculated more frequently had a significantly lower risk of developing prostate cancer. The theory is that regular ejaculation flushes out potentially harmful substances that could otherwise sit stagnant in the prostate. So while it might seem counterintuitive, self-pleasure could actually be doing you a big favor down the line. Number three, your pelvic floor is more important than you think. Ever notice how everything below the belt gets harder to manage with age? I am talking about weak urine flow, unexpected leaks, and less firmness when you need it most. Well, a lot of that ties back to the pelvic floor, a group of muscles you probably never heard of until they started giving you trouble. When you climax, those muscles contract, especially the pubococcygeus muscle. And those contractions act like resistance training for your pelvis. Stronger pelvic muscles mean better control, fewer leaks, and more reliable performance. Number four, it lowers stress in a real measurable way. Here is something I felt long before I ever read about it. After a satisfying orgasm, there is this wave of peace. It is not just in your mind, it is chemical. Orgasms lower your cortisol, the body's stress hormone. Less cortisol means better blood pressure, lower inflammation, and a calmer nervous system. In a world where stress ages us faster than time itself, this is a free and effective way to reset your body. Number five, it releases nature's best mood cocktail. Forget pharmaceuticals, your brain already makes some of the best feel-good chemicals on earth. When you climax, dopamine floods your brain. That is the motivation molecule. It makes you feel focused, optimistic, and alive. Then there is oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Even when you are alone, oxytocin helps you feel less isolated and more connected to the world around you. Number six, you learn more about your body. This one caught me off guard, but it is so important. The more in tune you are with your body, the more likely you are to catch early signs of trouble. I know a guy named Jerry who told me that he found a lump in his testicle while masturbating. He caught testicular cancer at stage 1. If he had not had that moment of self-awareness, who knows what could have happened? Knowing your body can save your life. Number 7, sleep like a baby again. As we get older, sleep gets weirder. You lie in bed tired but wired, and you cannot drop into deep rest. But here's the thing, after an orgasm, the combination of dopamine, oxytocin, and prolactin, a hormone that promotes relaxation, helps knock you out. It is like nature's sleeping pill. If you have been struggling to fall asleep or stay asleep, this could be your missing link. Number 8, circulation is not just below the belt. Regular sexual activity helps circulation across the entire pelvic region. Bladder, prostate, colon muscles. Poor circulation in this area can lead to issues like sluggish digestion, incontinence, and erectile dysfunction. This is like internal yoga for your lower body. Number 9, it is practice for control. If you have ever had issues with going too fast in the bedroom, you are not alone. Masturbation gives you a private space to practice control, especially using methods like stop-start or edging. By learning to pause and delay your response, you train your body to respond with greater control when you are with a partner. Number 10, it keeps your brain engaged in pleasure. You have probably heard the phrase use it or lose it. That applies to more than your muscles. It applies to your brain neural circuits for desire, fantasy, and arousal. When you stop engaging sexually, even solo, those circuits start to go dormant. But if you keep those pathways firing, you preserve your libido, responsiveness, and creativity even without a partner. But now let us be real. As helpful as masturbation can be, it is not all upside. It is not harmless when done without awareness. And that is what we need to talk about next. In the second half of this video, I am going to walk you through the 10 potential risks of excessive or unconscious self-pleasure. Some of them are physical, others emotional, and a few might genuinely surprise you. But before we go there, I want to invite you to reflect for a second. What role does this practice play in your life? Is an occasional moment of peace and pleasure? Or is it becoming a habit that sneaks up on your energy, your mood, even your connection with others? No shame either way. But the answers to those questions will shape the next part of our conversation. In fact, I have found a simple but fascinating explanation for how some of these struggles may start deep inside your nervous system, and what one strange little 7-second routine can do to reverse the damage. Do not worry, I will explain everything in part 2. And if you have ever caught yourself wondering whether this private habit is helping you or holding you back, stick around, because in part 2 we will explore how posture friction and habit can cause nerve compression and sensitivity loss, why shame and guilt still haunt millions of men, and how to release it when release turns into a trap for emotional escape, and why this habit might be sabotaging your intimacy without you even noticing. I would love to hear your thoughts. Which of the 10 benefits surprise you most? Or which one are you hoping is really true? If this connected with you, consider subscribing so we can keep this honest conversation going. When you are ready for part 2, just let me know and we will dive right in. Let me take you back to a quiet morning I'll never forget. I was sipping tea on my back porch, the sun rising slow and golden. That's when my friend George called. He's 67, and one of those guys who always kept in shape and took pride in being sharp as a tack. But that day, his voice was low. He said, "I've been feeling foggy lately. I don't know if it's age or something else." And then he asked, "Could be the way I've been, managing my stress?" George wasn't alone. Over the past few years, I've had dozens of similar conversations with older men trying to stay healthy, keep their edge, and make sense of their private habits. So today, I want to share with you not just the research, but also the stories, the realities, and the caution signs that too few people talk about. This part of the conversation is about awareness, not judgment. We already looked at the benefits in part 1. Now we turn the corner and get honest about the risks that come with overdoing it or doing it the wrong way. And trust me, these are things I wish I had known sooner too. Risk number 1 is something many men feel, but rarely name: social withdrawal. See, self-pleasure can feel like an easy outlet when you're lonely or stressed, but over time, if it becomes your main source of comfort, it starts to replace human connection. Instead of calling a friend or joining a group, you retreat into your own world. The problem isn't the act itself, but how it can quietly close the door to relationships you deeply need. So here's the first question I want you to think about. When was the last time you opened up to someone or felt truly connected? That's where real energy comes from. Risk 2 is skin irritation and micro tears. It sounds small, but trust me, it matters. Some men use rough methods or skip lubrication, which can lead to tiny tears in the skin. These micro tears can cause inflammation and discomfort, and they even create an opening for infections, especially as the skin thins with age. So be kind to your body. Use a water-based lubricant, take your time, and make sure this remains a safe experience, not a painful one. Risk 3 is desensitization. I want you to imagine listening to your favorite song on repeat at full volume every day. At first it feels amazing, but eventually it wears thin. You stop feeling the same thrill. That's exactly what happens when you stimulate yourself the exact same way over and over. The brain learns that one pattern and stops responding to anything else. This becomes a problem, especially with a partner. To fix this, mix things up, change the rhythm, use your imagination, shift your focus. Variety keeps your system flexible and alive. Risk 4 is a subtle but dangerous one. It's when masturbation hides signs of deeper health issues. Some men find they can only get an erection when alone, but not with a partner, and they brush it off. But that pattern could point to cardiovascular problems or hormone imbalances. It's your body's way of saying, hey, something needs attention. Don't ignore it. If you notice a big difference between solo and partnered experiences, it might be time to check in with your doctor. Now, before we continue, let me share something that could truly make a difference. I came across a simple 7-second home routine developed by health researchers that targets what may be the core biological cause of performance issues in older men. It's not a gimmick or a shortcut, but a natural reset. It's helped men regain confidence and stamina without relying on pills or medications. I'll drop the link at the top comment below this video. Bookmark it, watch it after this conversation ends. I think you'll find it powerful. Let's return now to the next risk: posture problems and nerve compression. Most men don't think about this, but how you position yourself during self-pleasure can affect your pelvic health. Sitting hunched in a hard chair tightens the pelvis and can compress the pudendal nerve. Over time, that causes numbness or dull pain. Instead, choose a comfortable supported position, preferably lying down, or recline with soft support under your lower back. Your body matters, and so does how you treat it. Risk 6 is emotional dependency. We all need ways to decompress, but if self-pleasure becomes the only relief valve for stress, boredom, or sadness, it can trap you. Instead of building emotional resilience, you rely on quick fixes. Real growth comes from feeling your feelings, talking to someone, going for a walk, taking a breath. When you add tools to your emotional toolkit, you don't have to lean so heavily on one. Risk 7 is something many men carry in silence: guilt and shame. Maybe it comes from upbringing, religion, or old beliefs about what's acceptable, and it can weigh heavy even if you're doing something completely normal. The key here is healing. If this emotional weight is affecting your mental well-being, talk to someone, a counselor or therapist who understands sexuality without judgment. You deserve peace in this part of your life too. Risk 8 is pelvic congestion. You might have heard that too little ejaculation increases prostate cancer risk, and that's true, but too much can create another issue. Daily or multiple times per day for extended periods can lead to heaviness or aching in the lower pelvis. That's your body asking for balance. Moderation really is the sweet spot. Your body speaks, pay attention to what it says. Risk 9 is about semen quality and fertility. If you and a partner are trying to conceive, frequent daily ejaculation can reduce sperm concentration in the short term. The ideal balance, based on studies, is about 2 to 5 days between releases. So if fertility is your goal, give your system that time to recharge. Risk 10 may be the most concerning for long-term relationships. It's the disconnection that comes from relying too heavily on explicit pornography. Now, I'm not here to preach, but I've seen how overexposure to unrealistic images changes expectations and even makes it harder to connect with a real partner. When pleasure becomes tied to extreme visuals instead of real moments, you risk training your brain in a way that narrows your joy. Try sometimes using just your imagination or recalling meaningful memories. It brings you back to your senses and keeps things grounded. So we've gone through 10 real risks that don't get talked about enough. But don't mistake this for a warning to stop. That's not the point. The point is to treat this part of your life with the same thoughtfulness you bring to your diet, your fitness, or your relationships. Consciousness is a key. I'd like you to take a minute now and think about your own routine. Is it driven by boredom or stress? Is it regular, but not excessive? Does it make you feel more connected to yourself or more disconnected? These aren't right or wrong answers, are just clues. Clues about where to make small changes that can bring big relief and even joy. And let me say this, your sexual energy doesn't expire after 60. It evolves. It matures. You're not chasing the same wild intensity as in your 20s, but you are seeking something deeper, steadier, and just as meaningful. The truth is, this will be one of the most empowered chapters of your life if you give yourself a space to explore and adapt with awareness. So if you found something in this video that hit home, let me know in the comments. What did you relate to? What was new or surprising? I read every message because I want this to feel like a real conversation between people who care about their health and their future. In part 3, we'll talk about what happens when solo habits interfere with connection and what you can do to rebuild intimacy, focus, and joy from the inside out. This next part is powerful because it's where personal transformation begins. Stick with me. Let me begin this part by telling you about someone who might sound familiar. His name is David. He's 69, retired, and spent most of his life working as a financial advisor. A calm man, someone people trusted with their savings and secrets. But lately, David noticed something unsettling. He couldn't focus. Conversations with his grandkids felt like static. Reading the newspaper became a chore. His mind just kept circling back to one thing: his next release. It scared him, not because the act itself was wrong, but because it felt like his mental clarity was slipping through his fingers and he didn't know why. That's what happens when sexual release becomes your only tool for managing stress or loneliness. The brain starts to depend on that burst of dopamine, and it loses flexibility. Over time, this creates mental fog and emotional rigidity. You stop adapting. You stop growing. And I know David is not alone. Let's talk now about the cognitive and emotional toll of relying too heavily on self-pleasure, especially when it becomes your escape instead of your nourishment. First, there's the issue of short-term memory. If you found yourself forgetting small things, losing your train of thought, or zoning out more often than usual, this might be a factor. That's not to say every lapse is due to masturbation, but when the brain gets locked into a repetitive reward loop, it shifts how you focus. Your attention narrows, your thinking stiffens, and your ability to process nuance weakens. Second is emotional disconnection. The more you rely on private release for comfort, the less time you spend working through real feelings. Loss, grief, frustration, boredom. These are part of life, especially in our later years. But if every hard emotion is met with escape, your emotional muscles weaken. And soon you might find yourself unable to sit with discomfort at all. So what's the solution? It's not cutting out pleasure. It's expanding your capacity to feel. That means journaling or meditation. It means sharing your thoughts with a trusted friend. It means letting yourself cry when you need to. These are not signs of weakness. They are tools of resilience. Now, let's move to something more visible, something that might catch you by surprise: your appearance. I remember James, a 73-year-old former math teacher. When he came to me, he was frustrated. His hair was falling out fast, and his self-confidence was taking a hit. He thought it was just age, or maybe his genetics. But after talking more, I discovered that James had become more sexually active in retirement, using self-pleasure as his main form of stress relief. He was doing it multiple times a day, believing it was harmless. And for a while it seemed that way. But repeated hormonal spikes, especially increases in testosterone, and its byproduct DHT, can speed up hair loss in men who are already genetically prone to it. DHT shrinks hair follicles, and once they're too small, hair stops growing. Now, this doesn't mean you have to stop being sexual. Not at all. It just means be mindful of frequency. If you notice changes in your hair, skin, or energy, take it seriously. Your habits may be sending signals that something's off balance. And here's the good news. James adjusted his routine, reduced his frequency, added some nourishing supplements, and within months he noticed a real change. Not only in his hair, but in his mood and confidence too. So listen to your body. It's always speaking. Now let's talk about the heart. Not metaphorically. I mean your actual cardiovascular system. Frank was 72, disciplined with his diet, medication, and exercise. He walked every morning, monitored his blood pressure, and kept his sugar in check. Yet out of nowhere, he started having tightness in his chest, dizziness, and a racing heartbeat. Tests showed no major issues. It was baffling, until his wife pointed something out. These symptoms always happened after he pleasured himself. You see, during climax, the heart rate and blood pressure spike fast and hard. For a younger man, the heart absorbs that shock. But in older men, especially with pre-existing conditions, it can push the heart past its safe limit. Frank was shocked. He never thought something so private could affect his heart so directly. But it does. That sudden strain with no warm-up, no pacing, and high arousal can hit like an unexpected storm. It doesn't mean stop. It means be smart. Treat sexual activity like exercise. Build up gradually. Use your breath. Stay aware of how your body feels before, during, and after. And please, if you ever feel discomfort, shortness of breath, or irregular pounding during or after sexual activity, speak with your doctor. Don't let embarrassment risk your life. Now here's the part one find most important: the mind-body connection during partnered intimacy. Many men tell me they perform fine alone, but struggle when someone else is in the room. That gap feels frustrating, even humiliating. But it's not failure. It's neuroadaptation. When you train your body to respond only to one type of stimulation, one setting, one fantasy, your brain builds a deep groove, like a record playing the same track over and over. So when a situation changes, your arousal doesn't know where to go. That's why real intimacy can feel flat or even impossible. Michael, 66, shared something powerful. After his divorce, he wanted to date again. But when he finally got close to someone, his body shut down. He said, "I felt like my whole system forgot how to respond. I was there, but not there." I told him what I'll tell you. You are not broken. You are not past your prime. You just need to retrain your system. Here's how. First, take a break. 7 to 14 days of no sexual activity at all. Let your nerves reset. Let your brain find stillness. Think of it as rebooting your operating system. Second, when you resume, change your rhythm. Use different angles, touches, paces. Try to be more curious than goal-oriented. Don't chase the climax. Explore the sensations. Third, practice mindfulness. That means tuning into your body. Focus on your breath, your heartbeat, your skin. Make the experience rich, not rushed. Fourth, add partner-like stimulation. Use sounds or touches that feel relational. Imagine eye contact or a hand holding yours. Build connection even when you're alone. And finally, shift your goal. Instead of release, aim for presence. Let the journey be the reward. This works. It worked for Michael. It worked for James. It's worked for me. Our bodies are not machines. They're ecosystems. And every habit we build either brings more life or drains it away. So let me end this conversation with the truth I've come to believe. Pleasure at any age is sacred. It deserves care, intention, and honesty. Whether you're single, divorced, widowed, or partnered, your body is still your home. And how you treat it affects how you walk through the world. Masturbation is not good or bad. It is a tool. It can heal or it can harm depending on how it's used. Used consciously with respect and moderation, it becomes a way to connect to your vitality, your balance, and your joy. So if this message spoke to you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated? What surprised you? What would you like me to explore next? Leave a comment below. Like the video if it brought you clarity. And subscribe for more grounded, honest guidance on mature health and well-being. You're not alone in this journey, and your best years can still be ahead of you. I'll see you in the next conversation.